Morning.
It is amazing to be back. It's been a number of weeks now. This morning we get the privilege of hearing from the Alaska team on the missions trip they just returned from on Tuesday. So there's going to be a slideshow. I'm going to invite them up here in just a moment. I'm going to give Tim just a second because I was waiting on some videos for it that didn't come, and so he just received that PowerPoint a few minutes ago. And so we'll give him just a moment to figure that out. Oh, it's already up there. Nice job, guys. I'm going to have the team come up. I'm going to introduce you guys to some of the team members that you probably don't know quite as well. If everybody can make your way up here. Two of our members were not able to make it here today due to work and, work for both of them actually. So both of them, their names are Dave and Noah Swain. They were amazing to have on the trip. They were the first ones that wanted to do all the work projects. As soon as one was mentioned, they were out the door. And it was incredible seeing their hearts. And also, I think they're looking to move to Alaska. So they really enjoyed the trip. They loved the trip. And there's a chance they might be moving. So the trip was really good for them for sure. You guys know the majority of the people up here. Probably don't know Levi quite as well. Levi's been attending a few times, so Levi joined us on the trip. And then Peter over here as well. I've worked with Peter for a while now, and then also he plays on our church league softball team, and he joined us as well. Everybody else you should know fairly well. So we're going to get started with our presentation for this morning. Let's make sure this is on. Alright, I'm going to slide off to the side so you can see everybody else as well. So I will talk as loudly as I can. Everybody hear me? Yeah? Alright. So they'll have an opportunity to share about some of the stories and stuff like that, but we're just going to kind of roll through these. I believe there are 67 slides, so we're going to get going on these before we run out of time. First three slides are on day one. So the first 5 days that we were there, we were down on the Kenai Peninsula. This was not with the camp itself, but we got the opportunity to go sightseeing for the first 5 days down in the Kenai Peninsula. So those are what pictures you're going to see first. Most of these pictures were not approved, so they might get mad at me at some points, but that's all right. So day one, you can see a couple pictures of us on the planes, on the bus heading to Kenai, pictures at the airport, and then in the top left corner, if you look there, there's a picture of Peter and Noah. The first day after we got settled in, we got to go look at a couple different sites in Kenai. This is what's known as the Bluff in Kenai. It's on the inlet there of the ocean, and there were hundreds, if not thousands, of seagulls, and they were running through the seagulls at that point. So, a fun time. Next, we have up top right, this is the church that they allowed us to stay at for free. Technically, they had a parsonage, and so several of us got beds and stuff, which was really nice. But the top right is a picture of the church. It's Kenai Grace Brethren, where we stayed for the first 5 days. The giant blue bus in the middle was our transportation. One of the churches there allowed us to use that while we were there. That was a lot of fun to drive, but it was amazing. They allowed us to use it for free. We stayed at the church for free, which allowed us to keep the cost real low. So that was really amazing. That's just another picture of my family at the Bluff as well. Bottom right picture there is of Anchorage, just coming out of Anchorage. Picture of the inlet as well. And then lastly, for last slide for the first day is in Kenai and Sedalna. More pictures of the Bluff, and then also we went to the Kenai River in Sedalna, and the middle picture there is of the river there. A lot of the rivers there are very blue. Some of that is just because of it being more natural. Some of it has to do with the fact that they're glacier fed and some of the things that mix into it. But a lot of them are absolutely gorgeous. This was day 2 in Homer. That was the first actual group picture we got, and that is under the Homer, Alaska sign, which is the halibut fishing capital of the world. The bottom picture there's an outlook over Homer and of the inlet. And so got a picture of the overlook there, which is absolutely gorgeous. And then this next slide, we got the opportunity to go on a boat tour while we were there, which was definitely a highlight for some of us. It was like a 4.5-hour boat ride where they took us across the ocean, did sightseeing, and then they dropped us in a small native village called Saldovia, where we got to spend some time as well. We'll see pictures from there in just a moment. But yeah, so this is the boat in the middle left section over there, and these are just a bunch of random pictures from on the boat. I do enjoy the top right one. There's a nice family picture that Dave decided to join, which was awesome. And then also on the boat tour, these are some of the things we saw. So these first couple is really cool just so we get to reflect on how amazing our God is, the things that He created. So we saw a lot of otters on the trip. The top right one is an otter with its baby, so there's both the mom and the baby in that picture. And in the bottom left is also an otter, but that otter had just caught a very large octopus and was eating it. So that's kind of cool. And then in the middle pictures there are puffins, which are cool birds, and there's also an eagle. You can't really see it very well from there, but there are some other pictures of eagles as well, so you'll see those. And then also the left one, there's, of course, the Titanic pose on the bow of the ship. So, day 2 in Saldovia, I'll share part of it, and I'll have someone else share from the other group, because we split into 2 groups in Saldovia. Some of us wanted to go do a hike, others did not. And so, I'm trying to remember, it was me, Noah, Dave, Peter, and Bryce, I believe, that went on the hike. We went out to a really cool beach, which you can see in the bottom picture there, and the top right. We were climbing around on rocks, which was really cool, some of which was dangerous, some of which wasn't. And the other group kind of stayed closer to town. I don't know if one of you guys want to touch on that, what you guys did. Anyone?
We just walked around mostly. Went out to some little like beaches and stuff that they had there. Got coffee, hung out. That's good. Avery ate some flowers.
So yeah, that was Saldovia. Like I said, it's a small native village across the inlet. The only way to get there is either by boat or by plane. So there's no way to drive to this. It's a very small little town, and it's also connected to what they call one of the larger Alaska state parks. And state parks are a little different there than they are here. Pretty much a state park is an awesome place to go hiking, but it's also a place to go hunting. Here you can't hunt in state parks. There, that's what you do pretty much. And so it's connected to kind of what I refer to as no man land. Most of that land has nobody living there. You can just go out and hike and do whatever you want in those areas. So that's really cool. More pictures of Saldovia. Picture of Peter down in some crevices and a rock there in the center. Another picture of a really cool eagle on the bottom right. The top left, you can't see it super well, but those are a lot of the really cool houses in Saldovia along their river there. Some of the other ones are just some sightseeing ones from around there. And then starting day 3, we got to go to a glacier called Exit Glacier. This is not one that you can walk to it. It would take you most of the day to get to it though. This one has a really cool overlook. Someone did not plan time very well, and that someone's me. We got to Exit Glacier and we had about 45 minutes until we had to be at our next place, which was a 20-minute drive. So we had 25 minutes at Exit Glacier. They recommended about half an hour to make the hike out to see the glacier. So we literally sprinted out to the glacier. We took some pictures. Some of the group had just arrived, and as they got there, I looked down and said, all right, time to go back, let's go. So they had time to take about 1 picture, maybe 2, and then we returned down the side of that mountain. So, but that's a picture of Exit Glacier there at the top. And bottom. Continuing in Seward, we got to go to a beach out at the point, so this is the farthest point you can drive in Seward. Pictures of the beach there. Peter took a drone with him, which was really cool. We're going to post some of those videos on the Facebook page, so there's some really cool pictures, but you can look at those here probably in the next week. But so he was out with his drone, flying that around. Dave and I and Noah found a hiking trail off to the side that probably wasn't supposed to be hiked because it was straight up and was rather dangerous. But we climbed up that. We saw a porcupine on the way back, which was really cool. It was running away as Dave finally got a picture of it. bottom left there is a picture of the harbor in Seward as well. And then the big thing that we did in Seward on day 3 was the Sea Life Center. We got the opportunity to go to a Sea Life Center. There's another group picture up in the right in a boat, which is pretty cool. We tried to take several group pictures. I think we only got like 5, maybe at most, in the entire trip. Up in the top left, that is a sea lion. His name is Pilot. He's been with them for a while. I think they said he weighed like 1,400 pounds or something like that. He's a big dude. And then also there's a sea lion in the top picture. It's kind of hard to see, but that one's actually not in the Sea Life Center. They have an observation deck that you can go look at, and that guy was swimming around in the harbor there. And then once again, the middle picture there, kind of hard to see. They have a really cool bird enclosure there, and so they have all those rock walls, and then they have like a little pond for them to swim in. And so you can just sit there and watch the birds flying all over the place and diving into the water to get fish, and that was really cool. And then bottom left is a harbor seal swimming around. Looks like a giant torpedo as it just swims through the water. There's some more grove pictures. They did the green screen thing there, so we were able to set up in front of the green screen and then put the backgrounds in for the top left and bottom right there. And then those are just a couple more of the harbor seals again of the corners. Day 4. Anyone want to share on day 4 since I'm talking a lot? Yeah, that was a favorite hike, Peter. Why don't you share on?
Okay. We hiked down to this lake that was completely surrounded by mountains on every side, behind you, in front of you, every side. It was really awesome. I took a drone out. That video is at my house. Yeah, it was really cool. I'm not sure what everyone did, but you know, we skipped rocks and there was a small hike to the side. Some people did. It was just really cool.
You guys skipped rocks this one?
Some people did.
Day 4, we gotta go whitewater rafting. It sounds pretty intense. It was a scenic float. So there was like 3 or 4 spirited rafters is what they said, which were kind of fun. But the majority of it was just floating on the water. So there's a group picture again. On the left is a picture of some of us in the raft. There's a fun picture with the girls on the right there. And then on the far right is just a picture of the river that we were floating on. These are some of the things we got to see from the raft, which was definitely a highlight. We got to see a baby grizzly there in the middle, sitting right next to it, and then there was a black bear walking around as well. That is a full-size black bear. Black bears are not that big, but yeah, he was walking around. That was cool to see. Technically, the bull moose, that's very rare. You don't really see bull moose very often. It was not on the raft that was on our way home, but we got to see all 3 of those in the same day. And those are kind of like the 3 big ones that you want to see while you're in Alaska, and we knocked them all out in one day, which is incredible. We did get to see some more. Unfortunately, there's kind of a sad story with the grizzly in the middle. That grizzly was only maybe a few months old, and he was surviving off of the scraps from the fishermen. So the fishermen would throw the scraps back in, it would float by, and he'd snatch them out. Apparently, we were told that his mother had gotten rather aggressive with the fishermen, and the Fish and Game, or DNR there, had to put his mother down a couple months before we were there. So the likelihood, they told us, of that baby surviving is very low unless the rescue team gets to him. So that was kind of sad. So not only were we really excited to see a grizzly bear, then we were all crying in the raft as well. So that was nice. All right, and that was the time that we had in Kenai, the Kenai Peninsula. Those 5 days. After that, we drove to Victory Bible Camp. One of the amazing things that we saw God do, we had rather fantastic weather while we were there. The first day we were there, it was kind of foggy, you couldn't see a whole lot, but with the exception of that, it only really rained hard 2 days, and both of those days were travel days. So every day when we went to do sightseeing, pretty much was like perfectly clear, and it was amazing. And so God was great to us in that way. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get going into the Victory Bible Camp. But Victory Bible Camp was where we stayed for the last 10 days of our trip, and where we were able to do all the service projects, and where these shirts came from. And so we're going to talk some about Victory Bible Camp. This is some pictures from the camp. if you look at the top right corner, you can see the green cabin there. That's only about a third of the cabin. I wasn't able to get a full picture because of everything that was going on. But that is where we stayed. We were expecting to be put up in bunkhouses and have bunks. This place was extremely nice. It had a full kitchen, had 2 living rooms, had 7 bedrooms, and like twice as many beds as we needed. All the leaders got queen size beds, so that was cool. And so it was a really nice facility, really nice place for us to stay. If you look at the bottom right picture there, that is the view that we had out our back living room window. And so it was amazing just to wake up, stand up in your living room, and that's what you got to look at, a giant lake, and there were like 4 or 5 mountains all within view, which was incredible. Top left picture is Miracle Lodge. They were able to build that in 2001, and from my understanding, they didn't have to pay for any of it themselves. All of it was fully funded, and grants were given from the state and such. That's where we ate every single day. And then, I just want to point out real quick, in the top of that picture and then also the left picture, you see that mountain that comes to a point there? That's called Victory Point. It was named after the camp. But in the bottom left picture, you can kind of see just right behind Victory Point to the left, there's another mountain right there. You only see the very top of it. It's kind of deceiving, but that point is actually over 1,000 foot taller than Victory Point. And we're going to talk about that mountain here in a little more, but that's what you see of it from the camp. That mountain is called Anthracite. So, somebody want to share about the church that we attended?
So this is the church we went to both Sundays that we were there. The first Sunday that we were there, it was called like Victory Sunday, I think.
Victory Sunday.
Where they did a huge carry-in, and that was because all of the counselors were leaving that upcoming week. And so they celebrated all of the counselors, because this is where most of the people from Victory Bible Camp go to church. And then we went the next Sunday after that too, before we left for another part of our trip.
Yeah. Both services were missions focused, so missionaries were speaking. So we didn't actually hear the pastor speak, which was kind of a bummer. But at the same time, the second week was Kingdom Air Corps. They're a group that flies into the bush of Alaska and provide needs for them. And then also, they had just ran a camp all the way up north in Alaska. So for a lot of the native kids that don't normally get to go to camp, they fly in and set one up, and they can fly the students from all over different villages in northern Alaska. And so we got to hear about them speak as well. All right, now for the exciting part is the service projects. The service projects, to be able to serve them was a really cool experience. If you look at the top left corner, that's their woodshed. It's attached to the lodge. The lodge is fully heated by wood year-round. And so, in order for them to make it through half the winter, not even the whole winter, but half the winter, that entire shed has to be completely full. So at some point throughout the winter, they have to refill that entire shed as well. But our goal for the week was to fill that shed with firewood. So we spent a good portion of the time we were there. If you look on your far right, that is probably, I don't know, a quarter mile from the lodge, maybe even half a mile. And there were like 15 of these rows of wood that went probably 200 foot, 300 foot long. And our goal was to load that up on a truck and move that into the shed so that they could heat the lodge during the winter. The really cool thing about this was expected to take the entire week. We finished it up Thursday morning. So it was only 3.5 days worth of work. And they ran out of service projects for us to do. And so they were looking for projects for us to do, which was really cool. Most of that had to do, like I said, with these guys working hard, but also Dave and Noah. Those guys, they wanted to do it. Every time they had the opportunity to, they were loading the wood up and they were taking it. And then, I think in the next picture, we have some more pictures of wood cutting. They had a wood splitter, so that was fun to mess around with and cut up the wood with. Noah didn't believe in a wood splitter. He spent pretty much the entire week, at least the first 2 days, with Levi chopping up wood with an axe because that's how you're actually supposed to do it. And so they killed themselves for the first day or two with an axe while the rest of us were doing well. But yeah, we ended up cutting up wood for probably the first day or two. We finished cutting all the wood, and then our job was just to move it for that, pretty much after that. So this was our main project that we got to do. There's going to be a video posted of us loading the truck, which is really cool. There's just logs flying everywhere. People are catching logs, putting on the truck. It's a fun time. There wasn't too many injuries with that. Olivia did blast Peter in the forehead with a log at one point. He was bleeding. That was kind of fun. She threw it and almost hit Becca in the face. So in order to correct for it, she hit it again and hit it right into Peter's forehead instead. So that was good. So more pictures of us stacking wood on the truck, and then some more other piles there. But we did have other service projects because they ran out and they had a couple other ones they wanted us to get done. This is 3 of the other service projects, our pictures here. They had a tree fall early on in the summer and took out their playground fence. And so the fence around the playground was unusable for the majority of the summer. And so a couple of the people tore down the old fence, what was left of it, and they rebuilt it. And so that's kind of the start of it in the bottom left, and then the top middle is it finished. And then the picture on the left there, the cabin, that's McKinley. They had a guest group coming, and apparently whatever group for camp stayed in these cabins, the counselors did not do their job. They were supposed to make sure the cabins were clean. These cabins were disgusting. Like, it was terrible. And so apparently there was a whole meeting the first day we were there. All the staff was taken up and we kind of didn't know what was going on. But apparently the director was yelling at them for allowing the camp directors or camp counselors to leave with the cabin still looking like that. But they had a group guest coming to stay that weekend, and so the cabins had to be cleaned. And so we got the opportunity to clean, I think it was 5 or 6 cabins. And so we spent most of a morning doing that. And then there's some other pictures up there. I'll let Kara explain those because her and Becca were the only ones that did that one.
They had 2 outhouses that I think had just been built. And so me, Becca, and one of the main guys, I don't know how to explain. His name was Paul, but we spent the morning just staining those 2 outhouses. And
We did end up doing another service project that they added on last minute because they ran out of stuff. But one of the camps in which they have at this camp, they actually have 6 camps within the one camp. One of the camps is called Ranch Camp, where they get to go horseback riding and they get to learn how to lasso, use a bullwhip, which was kind of fun. We got to try out the bullwhips. I did not figure it out. Kara and Noah both did. But they have this little amphitheater, and thankfully their camp is growing enough that they ran out of room for them to sit. So we got to add another row of benches onto the backside. And actually the wood that they used to build it when we first got there were solid tree logs. And a bunch of us loaded these things. They must have weighed like 800 pounds. There were like 7 or 8 people on these logs trying to load them into a truck. We did get them. Most of us were hurting afterwards. But they got them there, and they have a mill on the premises, so they were able to cut it down themselves. And Peter and Noah and Peter went and helped them mill these boards down that we put up there. So that was another project that they did. And then the only other project that we did that I don't have pictures of is we got to dig this like 100-foot trench for them to put like cat wire in to run internet. Right through the woods from one cabin to the next. And there are a lot of trees in Alaska, which means there are a lot of roots in Alaska. And it took us several hours to dig this trench because the majority of it wasn't just digging, it was chopping up the roots, moving the roots, cutting them out. It was not the funnest job by any means that we did while we were there, but that was another service project that we got to bless them with and do for them. And then we were also on kitchen duty while we were there. We were not expecting this one. I was not told about it, but it was an awesome experience, opportunity. Most of the counselors that were there had spent the entire summer doing kitchen duty after all the meals. And so we got the opportunity to do that for them so that they didn't have to. And that involved doing all the dishes. There's a giant machine there called Hobart, which washes all the dishes, which was actually a lot of fun to use. But we washed all the dishes, we had to put them all away, and then half of our group also had to clean out the cold tables where all the food is kept during lunch and dinner and breakfast, and then also wipe down all the tables and sweep and mop the cafeteria. So we got to do that pretty much after breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. And so we were able to serve in that way as well. But we also got to do a lot of fun things while we were at the camp as well. I know you guys want to share about the horseback riding. Anybody? Olivia? Levi? Bryce? We almost all of us got the opportunity to go. Bree's not able to because she's pregnant. Apparently that's a no-go. We didn't know that until we got there. But she wasn't able to, so her and Avery stayed back. But the other 9 of us, got to go on horseback ride. It was kind of funny. We all get to kind of line up, and the guy in charge got to assign us horses. And so, of course, he kind of looks at the biggest guys first and tries to find the bigger horses for them. And so some of the bigger guys get assigned their horses first, and he gets to me, and I'm 99% sure he heard Kara and Becca say, "We really want the white ones. We want the white ones." One of the white ones was a bigger horse. And so because he was a nice guy, he decided he was going to give the white horses to Becca and Kara. And so eventually he gets to me, and I'm pretty sure I got the smallest horse there. They told us when we stepped off, we were supposed to kind of hang and then lower down. I went to step off, and I was already standing on the ground. And as I climbed onto the horse, the guy in charge who was holding the horse looks at the horse and goes, "You weren't expecting this today, buddy." I was like, "Thanks." So that was funny, but they took us on a trail ride for most of an hour, which was a really cool experience. Showed us how to go up and down the hills well, so we're not hurting the horses. And so there's pictures of almost everybody up there. You can see Beck and Kara with their white horses that they got. Levi, Bryce, Peter. I don't think I have one of Olivia, unfortunately, up there. But yeah, there's a number of them up there. And that was one of the most enjoyable things I did there. It was a really cool experience. So we gotta go horseback riding. Evening activities. So these are just a couple of the activities. Right on the lake, they had several canoes. We were told we could take them out if we wanted to. So a couple of the days we did take out canoes, which was a lot of fun. There were a lot of moose a lot of times on the backside of the lake, so we could take the canoes out and go find moose and different things. Now, the bottom left one, this is what they call the river buggy. So one of the evenings, we all loaded up on this river buggy. Dave Swain was on a four-wheeler behind us because this thing has a history of breaking down on them. So that way we wouldn't all have to walk back if it broke down. But we took this thing down to the river, which was just a couple miles away. And the majority of the road to get there was a little gravel road with giant bumps in it. And so it was a lot of fun in this thing, hitting all these bumps, getting thrown around a little bit. But we got to go down to the river, we got to skip rocks. It was a really cool area. We lit a fire. You'll see some more pictures of those later. But there's an amazing story related to the buggy that we're going to share. Does anyone want to share that story? Bryce?
So, Noah, Noah, he was doing something, but Paul kept telling him to sit down because it was really bumpy, so Paul didn't want anyone to fall out. Noah sat on the edge, and we had a really big bump, and he fell off the truck and almost got ran over. And then he jumps up, says, "I'm good," and runs to the truck and helps it.
It was probably a 6-foot drop, roughly 5.5 from the top of those benches. He was sitting up on the bench on the top because he was bored of sitting. And like 4 or 5 times I said, no, you need to get down, you're gonna end up falling off the back of this. And so he did learn that he was gonna fall off the back of it. Like he said, I looked forward to talk to Bree, and out of the corner of my eye, I just see Noah take flight. And he just takes off. And I look back, like my heart sinks. I'm like, I just lost a student. Like, he's just laying on the ground, not moving at all. And I'm like, this kid is dead. Like, he's gone. I'm yelling at Paul who's driving it. I'm like, we got someone down, we got someone down. And then all of a sudden he just shoots straight up, I'm fine. He literally just jumps back into the truck. All right, we're gonna keep going, I guess. Thankfully, his dad was there to deal with that situation.
Paul was the driver. Paul, it's his actual name is Paul, so it was kind of confusing because everybody calls Wesley Paul. But Paul said, that's a new one, like I've never lost anybody before. So we made a memory for him, and he will never forget our group now.
Just so you guys kind of have a picture of the people that we worked with there. The director of the Doulos program, his name is Aaron. Him and his wife were the ones that we dealt with quite a bit. I can never remember her name. Chelsea. Chelsea is Aaron's wife. Paul is Aaron's father, who's actually from Michigan. He's only from a couple hours from here. He drives up, him and his wife drive up every summer, and they help with the Doulos program. We spent a lot of time with Paul. Paul was amazing, awesome, godly man. And then also, which was another really cool connection, one of the younger guys that led a lot of the hikes that we did and such, he was there for the summer. He's actually from a church in Bourbon. So he was just there for the summer. He's coming back. I think he actually flew back on Tuesday. So he's back in the area. He lives in Napanee now. And so it's going to be really cool that we still can keep that connection with him. But yeah, so Chelsea took us, she up to the day we arrived, worked as a tour guide at the Matanuska Glacier. This is one of the more common ones for people to be able to go and hike in Alaska. You can climb on it, you can do a lot of things. And so we got the opportunity, she took us on her own guided tour of the glacier. We were there for a few hours, got to hike all over the glacier, got a lot of cool pictures. There was at one point, there's this, it's kind of weird, like almost like a funnel that comes off the side of one of the glaciers that pours out water. That literally is like perfect drinking water. There's nothing in it, nothing wrong with it, and it tastes amazing. Like, I don't know why, but it did. So we spent like 25 minutes all just drinking water out of this funnel. So
Wesley held Avery at one point, and she slept probably for an hour as we were walking around the glacier.
Yeah, some pictures. So there's a couple group photos there. That's me holding Avery in the back. That was fun to try to not slide all over a glacier trying to hold her. But yeah, the top left picture is a really cool picture from off the glacier as well. So there's a couple more pictures. There's a good picture of us and then a funny picture of the group there as well. We also got the opportunity to do 3 fairly decent hikes while we were at the camp. The first one wasn't optional, and then from there on it was because of how much more difficult they got. And so the group kept getting smaller for the hikes. But the first one was just an overlook from the camp. You can see that in the top right. There's a picture of a moose there up on the overlook as well. And then also the top left. Both of those are from the overlook. And it was really cool. That was a very short hike. We got there, we did that the very first day at the camp. So we got there fairly late, we got unpacked, we got set up. We all just hiked up. It was probably less than a mile up a little bit of a, I think it's probably categorized as a hill. It wasn't a mountain, but it was a good sized walk. The second one was called Lion Head. This was one of the coolest hikes we did while we were there by far. You can see the group picture in the middle. That is the group that decided to go on Lion's Head. We were down to 5 of us at that point. That one was, I think, 2 miles up and 2 miles down. And it was literally straight up. Alaska doesn't believe in switchbacks, so you're literally just climbing straight up the mountain. And so Lion's Head is a huge circular mountain that you see a lot of the rock face on. It kind of reminds you of a lot of the ones out west, especially in the desert and such. But yeah, that was, I believe, 3,000 foot elevation, and we did that one in the evenings. And so they were straight drop-offs. You literally could walk up to the edge and it was a straight drop all the way to the ground. So it was definitely scary at times, especially for some of the members that were there. But those were two of the hikes that we did. This was by far my favorite hike that we did. I showed you that picture earlier and I said the mountain behind it was, you could just see part of it, was called Anthracite. A group of us climbed Anthracite, so a group of us summited a mountain while we were there. This was the first time that I've ever summited a mountain. And as far as I know, I think everybody's, except for maybe Peter. Peter, have you summited a mountain before?
I have not.
No, so this was our first time doing this for all of us. This was a crazy hike. It may have been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. We spent most of a day doing it. So at this point, it was me, Peter, and Dave. Those are the three that decided to do the mountain. It was 8 miles in total, and it was 6,000 feet of elevation from top to bottom. And so the first mile of it was through the woods before you got out of the tree line, and they were literally straight up and down. Like on our way back down, we were sliding down it because it was too steep for us to walk. We got up to above the tree line, and it was an awesome walk at that point. We were going very slowly uphill. It was tons of greenery. Saw some really cool stuff. And then we got to the last about mile. And that's when the hardest point in my life probably came up. You have to walk up these rock slides. The first one was only 300 feet tall, but you're going up really steep, and these rocks aren't packed very well. And so every 2 steps you take, you slide back just about 1 step. And so it turns into this giant amount of time that you climb this, and literally you're stepping and half your legs are disappearing into the rocks. And so it took me over half an hour to make it up this 300 feet, and I honestly thought I was going to die a couple times. It was fantastic. And then you get done with that, and you've got a little bit of this plateau, and then the guy Derek from Bourbon was like, yep, the next one's 900 foot. So we finally get done with that, and we have to go up another 900 feet of rock slide. The one on the far left top is actually a picture of the 900 foot one. Thankfully, this one was much better packed and was not as difficult to climb, but it was very long, and it was also straight pretty much up and down. We were doing, most of this was on hands and knees climbing. But we got to the top, and I was told that the summit was about this wide, so you got to stand on something about this wide. The section in which we went up was not. So after the 900 foot climb, I was by far the last one there because I was the most out of shape. They're all there laying down, sitting down, and I finally make it up to the top, and right as I reach the top, I just go to collapse. And as soon as I did, I realized that peak came like this, and the other side was way steeper. And so as I went to fall over, I about fell right off the other side. And it was fantastic. I had to catch myself, and I was like, I'm gonna die up here. I can't balance on anything. I don't like heights. Working for the Roofing Company helped, but it didn't help that much. And so thankfully I didn't fall off the other side. Another part down had a wider section, so we made our way down there to make some of the pictures and such. But really cool. We also saw the middle picture there. You probably can't see it, but there's a bunch of white specks on that rock. Those are Dall sheep. So we got to see a herd of, I think, 24 or 25 Dall sheep while we were up there. Peter, if you would have got the videos done, there would have been a video of them jumping around from real close. That will probably be posted on Facebook as well, so you'll see that as well. But this was by far, I think, probably Peter and Dave's highlight of our trip. It was just an incredible experience making it to the top of that. And once again, you can't really see it, but the middle picture there on the way back down, we got to see a golden eagle, which was awesome. You hardly ever see golden eagles, especially even in Alaska, and so that was an exciting experience. Yeah, really watch the time. We'll keep moving. And so the last day they took us to Denali. So the big picture at the bottom is a picture of Denali that Dave took. So I don't know if you guys know much about Denali, but there's less than 30 days a year that you can actually see the mountain. There's only half of that you can actually see the entire mountain. At one point, this is the best we could see it. The bottom right side still has a cloud in front of it, but we saw like 90% of the mountain. So we definitely got within one of those 30 days, which was incredible. And it was awesome to see. We saw that moose, a couple of us on a hike from about 10 feet away. So that was really cool. And then the middle picture is the church in which we stayed while we were in Denali. And that's just a group photo of all of us sitting around tables talking and eating dinner. And then there's another bird in the right corner. I don't know what they called this. I think it was maybe even the national bird of Alaska is what he said. I didn't know that.
Ptarmigan.
Ptarmigan, there we go. Yep, that is a ptarmigan. Apparently there were a couple different kinds there. That's one of the ones we saw. And then also, these are they were from a ways away, so Dave's camera was able to pick up some of it. Bottom right corner is a mama with 3 baby grizzlies. So that was really cool to see. Top right corner was another grizzly we got to see on the bus tour. And then the left side, those are both caribou. One's up on the ridge there on the mountain, and one wasn't too far away from us there on the ground. So these are all things we got to see on the bus tour in Denali. So that was really cool as well. All right, before we go on to these ones real quick, does anyone have any stories they want to share? Anything that comes to mind? Yeah, there's a picture of that, so. All right, these are single pictures. These are just kind of some fun pictures from the trip. We're gonna slide through these rather quickly due to time, but there's not much to say about them. They're more so just funny, so we're gonna slide through these real quick. Oh, not that quick. These are caribou and moose bones that they decided to almost put in their mouth. I wasn't there for that. That might have been a poor decision.
You were literally right in that picture. You were right there.
All right, I was there for that. One of the places we went to was called Talkeetna, and they had some stores, and they found some wigs apparently. They were trying on wigs. That is Becca. Apparently, you could like take the mud at the glacier and smear on your face, and apparently it was really good for your face.
It felt like ice on your
Ice.
face.
So, it's one picture of Becca. This was a Mexican restaurant that we went to. They had a burrito called the Monster Burrito. And Noah and Olivia both decided to get this. So that's a picture of them beforehand. This is a picture at the end afterwards. Noah's plate is completely empty. Olivia's plate is not.
She also got a side of rice, and
Yeah.
Noah didn't.
And then also, I don't have a picture of it on here, but Peter got, what are they called? Fajitas, there we go.
Smoke was coming off.
They carried it out of the kitchen, and the entire restaurant was filled with smoke. And like, it was sizzling, and it like exploded pretty much. They put it down in front of him, and literally the entire table was just covered in smoke. It was really cool to watch, but it was also kind of crazy. This is a picture in Saldovia. That's Peter. I don't really know what's happened there. I just really
Peter's
appreciate
on the bottom, but then
yeah,
it's Noah and
Noah and Bryce. I really appreciate Olivia. I wasn't there for this picture once again. Well, I don't think I was. But Olivia walks upstairs and just was like, I don't have a clue what's going on. So they caught her in a picture. That's pretty cool. Bryce found a hat in one of the stores, and Pete took a picture of it. So. Yeah, that one's on there. That has to do with the joke they call me the foot guy, so I was making things really comfortable for everyone.
That's Levi's foot, by the way.
That is Peter. He's wearing a tank top there. But he had to wait out after a disc. We were playing disc golf at one point, and so that was him waiting out into the water to get a disc. It actually wasn't, it was surprisingly fairly warm. Like, we thought it was going to be freezing, and the water felt pretty nice, so. At that point, Avery was real tired, and I liked that picture, so it made it on here. Some of it wasn't quite as fun. I may have made a poor decision early on in the trip once we got to
Literally.
the camp. They had a gym there that was concrete, and like 3 days before they had mopped it for the end of the season, and it hadn't dried yet completely, and we were kind of testing it out to see if we could play on it. and we decided that it would have been fine. And so Peter was sliding all over the place, but that's fairly normal for Peter. So we just kind of were thinking it was fine up until I decided to take out Kara and bounce her face off the concrete. That's when we stopped playing. So, but she had some really cool bandages most of the week, so that was fun. And these last ones, it was a really good trip, but it was long, and people found creative ways to sleep at different times. And so these are some pictures of people finding creative ways to sleep. There's me. They joke about me wearing socks. There's Peter. That's next to the campfire. Doesn't look comfortable at all.
Oh, Avery slept in a suitcase.
Avery slept in a suitcase. That's what we had. So, picture of Levi. Oh, there's a picture of Levi. There's one of Levi. That's Levi again. Another one of Levi. Levi, that was Levi as well. Levi. Oh, and there's Kara. Levi slept more on this trip than I think he did anything else. It was impressive. It was impressive. There's Kara sleeping, Becca's sleeping, and then the group on the way back to the airport. So at that point, I think just about every one of us went to sleep. So.
No, this was on the way. That was on the way to camp.
Oh, that was the way to camp. Okay. So it was an amazing trip. It was a little long though, so people did find some creative ways to sleep at different times. Thought those were funny, so we included those. But that is all we have for the presentation for today. Feel free to ask some questions afterwards. Make them tell you their favorite stories, since some of them didn't want to. But yeah, feel free to. Sure. Olivia has a story she'd like to share, so go ahead.
So we went to, what was it? It was just, I think it was a grocery store. I think we went to get like coffee and stuff. And on the way back, Bryce went to go take a cart back. And he just, 2 carts back, and he decided to race them. But I don't think he could stop them in time, and he rammed it into a car when he was going to put it back. But thank goodness there wasn't any scratches.
It was only like a 2022 Subaru Crosstrek, so it was fine.
Was the guy in it? Right?
The guy was sitting in it at the time and looks back and goes, as long as there aren't any dents, we're fine. Thankfully there weren't any dents. Any other stories you guys want to share? All right, well thank you guys, appreciate it.